do another sound check to make sure that everybody is able to hear me. It looks like we have a couple more people logging in. We'll go ahead and get started in another minute or two. If everybody, again, Judy or anyone that's come in late, confirm that you are able to hear me, you can either raise your hand or type a note down there at the bottom. But I believe that we have just about everyone that was planning on joining today. All right, I'm going to ask for one more check from everybody. If you could go ahead and confirm that you are able to see my screen now that I have started projecting. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my GoToMeeting, so hopefully you're able to go ahead and see my entire screen right now. If you could go ahead and just do another quick hands up, or you're able to see it. Fantastic. It looks like a few people are able to go ahead and see that. Again, let me go ahead and do just a quick introduction. My name is Shannon Hutchinson. I am the director of our post-secondary area of focus. Today, we are going to go ahead and go through the, do a high-level overview of our post-secondary system. In between each of the main areas that I have segmented out, I'm going to go ahead and ask if anyone has questions. You are able to go ahead and either raise your hand, and then I will unmute you, or go ahead and type in your question in the box below. So again, in between each one of my sections, I'll go ahead and take a quick break to answer any questions, and then depending on time, we'll try to get through all the questions. Otherwise, we can go ahead and try and answer those later on. Maybe we'll have you send them in, and we'll get responses back to you. But just as a quick overview of what we're planning on covering today, is first starting with basic navigation, the different main menus, and just working your way around through focus. And then we're going to look at student demographic, how you're able to go ahead and customize the information that you're tracking on students, as well as creating the any data edits to ensure that your end users, as they're entering in your student demographic data, that it's clean data for when we submit to the state for our WIDA state reporting. Once we've covered basic student demographics, then we'll go ahead and ask for questions. The next piece we're going to be looking at is enrollment, and so manually adding your students to your school, and then also our online application, and how you're able to go ahead and customize that to have your students fill out the majority of the demographic detail. And then we'll go ahead and move on to test history, tracking the TABE and the CASAS scores, and then into scheduling. And once we get into scheduling, we'll go ahead and start talking a little bit about our finance piece and how you're able to tie the individual course or program fees directly to student schedules. And as students are scheduled into the courses that you can immediately go ahead and bill them. We'll then move over into our finance piece and accept payment from our students. We'll then go ahead and take a look at our FAFSA and financial aid worksheet module, and move into our attendance and gradebook, look at how we are able to go ahead and enter hourly attendance for our students, as well as in our gradebook, tie assignments to the curriculum frameworks if your districts follow the DOE's curriculum frameworks, and how you're able to go ahead and tie those to the individual assignments. We'll take a quick look at the LMS, and then go ahead and close out this afternoon with a review of our WIDA state reporting. All right, and again, between each one of those, we will go ahead and take any questions. We'll try to allow for approximately 5 minutes or so in between each area, just so that we can ensure that we're able to cover everything today. All right. Before I get started, I'll see if there's anything, any notes or anything out here. It looks like we're good to go. So we're going to jump straight into our navigation and the overview of Focus. So currently, here, what the screen that you're able to go ahead and see is my portal page. The portal page houses a lot of different information, and as we go through today, you'll see how you're able to go ahead and customize this portal page to include information for your end users that's key to their job. To start off, up at the top of our screen to the left, we have our logo, and throughout the demo today, we're going to be clicking on that individual logo, and it will refocus you and bring you back to your portal page. At any time that you're navigating through Focus, you can click on that logo, and it will bring you back to your portal page. To the right of that, I have a drop-down that's currently showing that I am logged in as a system administrator. And I'm able to toggle back and forth between my different roles by using this drop down up here at the top right. To the right of that, I have a list of the schools that I have access to, and then we have our school year and our current marking period. Below that, we have our main menu. Today, as we go through the demo, we'll be hitting on the majority of those different menu items, spending a lot of time in our scheduling, attendance, and grades menu. And then here in the center of my screen is kind of the message board of Focus. To the left, I'm able to go ahead and search on a student, and in Focus, you're able to go ahead and search on any portion of the student's name, or you're able to go ahead and search based off of the student's ID number. So if you're used to using the student ID number in your prior system, you're able to go ahead and continue to search based off of those student IDs in Focus. The section right below that are our portal alerts. And as I go through the different roles today, you'll see different portal alerts for the different types of users. Through our alerts, we're able to go ahead and customize the different pieces of information that we want to see on a daily basis that, again, is important to our role. So I'm going to quickly go ahead and move over to a separate instance, separate demo site, and you can see how different that my portal page is. Here in my alerts, I'm receiving alerts for teachers that have not taken attendance. I'm receiving alerts for students that have been scheduled more than 100% of the course, as well as students that have completed 85% of a program. Directly from these portal alerts, I'm able to go ahead and click on the link, and it takes me in and it shows me, if it doesn't log me out, it takes me in and shows me the report that's actually generating that portal alert, so that I'm able to monitor and keep track of, as well as be notified anytime that we're getting close to students going over on their hours. We don't want to be over-reporting in our WIDA state reporting. Students, as they're progressing through their programs, if they are it's getting ready for them to go ahead and receive their next set of funding through Pell, we want to make sure that they're let me get rid of that message, moving through their program and meeting the different requirements that we're going to take a look at a little bit later on in our staff report. All right, so the first piece that we wanted to go ahead and take a look at is student demographic. A lot of the districts that I've worked with over the years, one of the biggest pieces is that you've been running your student information system through your K-12 system. And we all know how different that post-secondary is when it comes to the hourly clock hour attendance and the different pieces of information that you want to be able to go ahead and track that's completely separate than what your district has on the K-12 side. With Focus is that we're able to go ahead and define and create new additional fields at any time that we feel we want to track new information on our students. So what I've done here is I've gone in and I've searched for my individual student. When I selected my student and I go into her demographic record, is that her name appears up here in the top right, and we see that I have a little dollar sign next to her name. What that dollar sign is indicating is that she has outstanding balances right now. So those little dollar signs, as we go through district to district, we're able to go ahead and set them up for each individual district and define which ones that you want to see. So some of our screens, you're going to see that it's the student is a non-resident. Some of them, you'll see the student might be a 504 student. You're able to define those different icons to appear next to the student's name so that they can quickly be identified when looking at a student list. On the teacher side, anytime that a teacher logs in to take attendance or they go into their gradebook, they also see those different portal alerts, so that we're making sure, again, with this little dollar sign, that we don't have students that are sitting in our classes and taking the class without actually paying for it. The rest of our demographic area here is made up of the different tabs of information that we're tracking on our individual students. Again, each district will go through and you will define the information that resides on these different tabs, as well as the student fields. Right now, we're looking at Haley's demographic tab, which contains just basic information about the individual student. If we wanted to go ahead and look at her address, we can click on the address tab and it takes us over and shows where she's actually living. We can go over to her demographic detail, again, as housing, citizenship, is she a single parent, her ESD exceptionalities, if she is an ESD student. And you'll notice that up here at the top of the screen, we have a different type of field that's showing first day of attendance and last day of attendance. Those different fields that you're able to appear at the top of your screen are called a computed field in Focus. And what it's doing is that while we're in Haley's demographic information, it is going out to a different module of Focus to look and say, when I bring up this student, I want to pull this specific piece of information, in this case from attendance. Another area might be that you want to pull information from test history to bring in the student's TABE scores. What it does is it saves the user from having to go ahead and navigate to those other modules in Focus and quickly be able to go ahead and look up that specific demographic information. Right. When I opened Haley's record and her name appeared in the upper right corner, I now have a second sub gray menu that I'm able to go ahead and click on these different areas to look at the student's enrollment, the student's schedule, the student's grade history, her test history, all of those different pieces of information I'm able to navigate from just opening up the student's demographic record. A few more pieces with regard to our student demographic is that I'm going to close out of Haley, and to close out of a student in Focus, you simply click on the red X next to their name. From my search screen, which as we go through today, you'll see the search screen is all over through Focus, and anytime that you come up onto the search screen, you're able to click on more search options. When you click on that, you can see that you will receive a bunch of additional areas that you can drill down and search for students based off of specific information. When I clicked on that more search options, up at the top, if I said I wanted to pull all of my grade level 30s or my 31s, I can simply check the box, click search, and it would pull a list of those students. I'm also able to go ahead and search for students that are scheduled into a specific course or section by clicking on our scheduling menu. I'm also able to go ahead in the post-secondary piece, what you're really going to be searching on, not just an individual section or course number, but on the program number. Through Focus, I'm able to scroll down here just a little bit, and you'll see that I'm able to search on any of the fields that are assigned on our master schedule. And in Focus, the vocational program is held out on the master schedule. So if I clicked on this area here, I can scroll down and find my vocational, there it is, program code, type in my program code for all of the students that are currently enrolled in a course in a set program, and pull that list of students. Right? Additional pieces that we're able to search on, we can search based off of grades or GPA. So again, when it comes to the staff report and making sure that your students are meeting a specific GPA, is that we can go ahead and search for students that have a GPA within a certain range. We're also able to go ahead and search based off of test history. So if you wanted to go ahead and pull a list of all of your students that received a specific TABE score within a set range, you can go ahead and define that here. We're going to go ahead and click on our test, and in this drop down, it's going to go ahead and list out all of the tests that are assigned and set up at your school. We can go search on a specific part. We would go ahead and search on, let's say, the grade equivalent of maybe 7 to 9. Right? And then when we did that search, it would go ahead and pull a list of those students that met that criteria. We're able to stack this information on top of each other. So I'm able to say, well, all of my students that are in a set program that received a TABE score within a set range, along with searching on student demographic data. When I scroll down on my screen a little bit further, you'll see these different categories here are the categories we saw when we went into the individual student's record. So any of that demographic data that you're tracking on your students, you're also able to go ahead and search off of that. So again, drilling into the set group of students to drill down to exactly who it is that you're looking for. All right, the next piece that we're going to take a look at is the student field. So at the beginning, I mentioned how you've been forced sometimes to fit into a K-12 world, and this is how quickly that it is for you to be able to go ahead and set up additional fields of information that you would like to go ahead and track on the post-secondary level. If you notice when I was in Haley's record, I had a tab in there called Job Placement. And when I'm in my student field setup area, the categories that are listed over to the left represent each one of those tabs that we see when we go into the student's demographic record. Within each one of the categories is that you'll see the tabs that are currently housed on the individual the individual fields that are housed on the tabs within the student's demographic record. So I'm able to go ahead and say I want to add a new field, and if I click on this plus sign, then it's asking me at the top of my screen, what is the additional piece of information that you want to start to track? Well, since this is our job placement module and we're already asking if the student is employed, maybe we want to ask the question or create a new field for where is the student employed. Once we've titled what we want our new field to be called, we now define which type of field that it's going to be. You can see that from the drop-down you have multiple options. Pull-down options are usually a key field simply because you're able to go ahead and search on those. If we created it as a text field, which in this case we probably would, just because we're not able to come up with a list of all of the employers that a student could be working at. But when we go through and we're defining these fields, we have to make the decision on if we want to be able to search on them. If we want to search on them, we want to define the options for that individual field for our users to select so that we are able to go ahead and quickly search for those individual groups of students that have a different option set in each one of these fields. All right, so we can go ahead and we can say that this is going to be a pull down, and then you would go ahead and enter in your options, and we'll just put in some generic, option 2, option 3. And as soon as we go through and we create this field and we say where we want it to go ahead and appear, if we want it to appear after or before a specific field, we can set that as well. But then we simply click Save, and once we have created that field, we define who has access to it, who's able to view it, and who's able to edit it. In Focus, as you're going through and defining profiles and what your groups of users have access to, you drill all the way down to the individual student field level, and you're able to define if the groups of users are able to only view student information or if they are also able to go ahead and edit it. Well, once we've created that field, is that we can now go ahead and go into any of our students and set that information for our students. So I'm going to go to student info, and I'm just going to click search. And it's going to pull a list of all of the students that are at my school. And you can see that here on my demo site, I only have 13 students here at my school. When I go into the student's record, over on my job placement tab, right here is my new field. And I can go ahead and I can set it for my students. Right, once I save it down and I close out of my student's record, I can go in and I can now search on that field. So I can say pull all the students that have option 1 selected. And I can search for those students. And in this case, because we've only set the one individual student, it takes us directly into our student's record. I'm also able to go ahead and start to pull that field into our reports. And that's the last piece that we're going to look at here on our student demographic before we start taking questions. So from my students menu, I'm going to go into our advanced reports. And when I select the advanced report, the advanced report is available to all of your end users, including your teachers. And everyone is able to build their own individual reports. Over to the left, we have our search area where I can say search for my group of students that meet a specific criteria. Otherwise, here in the center of the screen, up at the top, it's listing out all of the categories that we just saw when we were looking at the student field setup. These are also the tabs that we saw when we were in Haley's record. And down at the bottom, we have the main modules of Focus that are available in our main menu that we're able to pull in schedule information as well as attendance, grades, test history, all of those pieces of information that we're tracking on our students, we can pull into our advanced reports. So quickly, I am going to go ahead and pull in the student's name. Right? And to go ahead and do that, I simply click on this plus sign, and it takes that field and it moves it from our middle column over here to the right to our list of fields to include in the report. So a lot of times we might want to know the student's grade level or their student ID. Right? If we scroll down a little bit, we can pull in the student's birth date or their gender. I am going to go ahead and go to over here to my demographic detail. Let's pull in the student's citizenship, their adult rule residence, any of this information that we want including their contact information. Once I've pulled those fields of information into my report, I can then go through and define which order that I want to see them in. So when I run my report for my 13 students here at my technical school, is that it's going to go ahead and it's going to pull all of this information in the order that I define. If I find that I've selected a field that I don't want, I can simply click on the red X and it pushes it back over to the left. I don't have to reorganize it for the system will go ahead and do it itself. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Run Report. And again, it's going to go through and it's going to pull all that information for the 13 students that I have here at my technical school. Over here to the left, it is letting you know, again, I have 13 students. To the right is our little icon that you'll see all through Focus that allows us to download this report to Excel. So if this is a report that I run frequently throughout the school year, and I want to compare my August numbers to my September numbers, I can go ahead and download it to Excel when I run it for August, and that way when I run it for September, I'm able to do that comparison. At the same time, you can see that I have several red boxes here in my report. The red box indicates that there's an error. Earlier I mentioned that we are able to define data edit on our student demographic data as we're entering the information into the system to ensure that it's not breaking a rule and we can ensure that we have clean data. But when we also go through and we set a field as being required, meaning that you cannot save down the student's record without filling in specific information, is that it's going to show in these reports as being an error. Now, directly from this report, because I have edit options to these different fields, I can click directly on the field, whoops, and set it directly from the report. Right? So I'm able to clean up my data and go through and set all of these different pieces for my students and click Save in my upper right corner. And what that does is it saves it down into the student's demographic record and saves me from having to go in one student at a time to update this different information. At the same time, within our advanced reports feature, is that up here to the top right, I have the option to only display records with errors. Now here at my school, I only have the 13 students, but once we get out into your technical schools and you have a couple thousand students that show up in this report, I don't want to see a list of all of the students that have clean data. I want to see the ones that don't. So if I click on my only display records with errors, it sorts out everybody else and only shows me my students with the errors. So over here to the right, I can go ahead and set the student's birthday. So we'll go ahead and backdate that. I also have the option that rather than go through all of these 7 students and set that they are a resident, I can go ahead and use my mass update option. And when I select mass update, I click on the field that I want to go ahead and update, select citizenship, and I say they're all U.S. residents, and I click on my mass update. And it immediately goes through and it sets that option for all 6 students here on my list. I click Save, and again, you can see that my list of students, it's getting shorter because I'm cleaning up that data, and it's saving me from having to go into every individual student to clean up this information. All right. The last piece on the advanced report is that if this is a report that I'm going to run continuously throughout the school year, I'm able to click on my Create Report option down here at the bottom and give this report a title. When I save down that report, is that I'm able to go ahead and click on my reports option up here at the top at any time, come back in and rerun that report, and it pulls all of the demographic data that I indicated that I was requesting at the time that I built the report. If you had entered search criteria over to the left, it does retain that search criteria, so you'll always be looking at the set group of students that, again, maybe fell into a specific range or scheduled into a specific program. But it makes it a lot quicker and easier for your end users that we're able to go ahead and build this report, push it out to those groups of users, and then they're no longer coming to the district or the school administration to request reports. They're able to go ahead and access their reports directly from their reports menu. All right. I am going to go ahead and ask if there are any questions. Ooh, Rob, I'm sorry, I'll try to talk a little bit louder as we go on. And Robert, you asked if you set up the alerts. You do set up the alerts. I'm going to go ahead and minimize my GoToMeeting again. Over here to the left under our students menu, we have an option called workflow triggers. And under our workflow triggers, you go in and you define the alert icon that you want to appear next to your student name, as well as the fields that those triggers are going to be generated off of. So each district is able to go ahead and define their own. Are there any other questions on the demographic piece before we go ahead and move on to the enrollment? Also, am I going too fast? Let me know if I'm going too fast. We've got a lot of information to cover in 2 hours, and I can sometimes talk pretty fast. All right, I'm going to go ahead then and move on to enrollment. The first piece that we want to look at with regard to the enrollment, I'm going to log out as our administrator. And I'm going to change my URL to take a look at our online application. So Again, going back to a lot of our districts, as those students, your turnover with your students is so high that sometimes paperwork, registration forms are sitting there for a few days before students are actually entered into the system. What we have done is we've created an online application that allows you to add the link directly to your school website. And when students want to enroll or register for courses at your school, they simply click on the link and it brings them to a screen similar to this. From the new application tab, if I enter in my information, and I am a new student, and down here I can go ahead and I define what my password is going to be, my username and my password. And then I have to pass this little test. And the online, oh, that one's already being used. Let me guess again. All right. So the online application that we're looking at right now is a sample from Broward. When the students log in, again down in Broward, they've placed a couple of pages of instructions. When you come into the screen, this is the next step that you do and the next step and the paperwork that you would need to go ahead and bring with you. So as I go through these different screens as an individual student, is that as I'm entering it in, it's tracking it and saving this information directly onto the new student record that it has created in Focus in what we call our applicant school. And so those students, when they're going through and they're filling out this registration paperwork, they're not actually getting enrolled into your school. They're being placed into a holding school that, again, we call our applicant school. Not until the student walks into the school and actually registers for a course will the school then go ahead and enroll them into their school and schedule them into a class. But while we are asking these students to fill out this online application, is that each district is able to define the information you want to collect from these students. Because again, even though I've just started this and I have not completed it, Focus is saving down the basic information that I'm entering in, which is allowing me to then reach out to these students should they never walk through the door and actually register for a course and enroll in my school, is that I am probably going to be asking them for their email address. I'm asking them here on one of the first pages, what is the school of interest? How did you hear about us, so we know which marketing options that we have out there are actually working for us. Once they select the school of interest, you might ask them to go ahead and select the program that they're interested in, so that again, you can reach out to those students at any time if they have not walked in and actually registered in one of your schools. So we can go through and define how we heard about it, and each one of these fields that has the red asterisk next to it is indicating that I cannot move any further in this application until I fill out these required fields. So again, I might have requested the student's email address so that I can quickly reach out to them later on should they never register. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and Continue later. Your students, as they go through that, they simply fill out all of the different questions that you've defined on that online application. And when I log back in as an administrator, is that if I go over into my applicant school, is that we can see that I have 2 new students. And when I click on that portal alert, it takes me in and it shows me who those 2 new students are. I've registered myself a couple of times today. And when I click on the individual student's name, it takes me into their demographic. So if I had gone through and filled out all of that information, and then I actually walked into the school and I'm ready to register, is that when I'm in my selected Focus Technical School and I go into my Add a Student screen, I can pull that student in, and it will bring all of that demographic data that the individual student filled out without the front desk having to, or registrar having to fill that information out for the student. So our manual process of adding a student, from here in my Focus Technical School, in my students menu, I go to add a student, and up here at the top, if I type in Shannon Hutchinson, is that the system goes through and it scrolls through all of the students that are in the database to see, is Shannon Hutchinson currently enrolled at an existing school? Is she over in our applicant school? Or is she an inactive student from a couple of years back and she's just showing up to take some more classes with us? If I do want to go ahead and enroll this student, I simply select their grade level and then click the link Enroll at Focus Technical School, and it will bring all of that demographic data along with the student and enroll the student as of today's date. If this is a brand new student to our school, they have not completed our online application, we simply work our way through the fields that are defined here on our Add a Student screen. And down here at the bottom right, you can see that I have a field called Form Requirements. And in that Form Requirements field, it's listing out the fields that I have to fill in before I'm actually able to go ahead and add the student. And so as I work my way down and fill out this information, oops, I needed to fill in the grade level for the student, is that you'll see that these different options are dropping off of they're dropping off of my form requirements over here to the right. If I'm ever questioning where one of the fields are located, I'm able to click on the requirement over here to the right, and it jumps me to that field, and I can simply set it. Right, and if I jump to my employee status, I have one option left down here in the bottom right, and what this is one of our data edits that's built in. It's saying that out of the race fields, they're all marked as no, and one does have to be marked as yes. As soon as I go ahead and select the radio button, is that I get the little green check mark down here at the bottom saying the form is ready to be submitted, and I can now go ahead and add the student. Once we've added the student, that's when we're able to go ahead and go in and schedule the student, or we can test the student for the TABE and enter in those test scores. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open it up again. Dan has a question, are reports only saved by exporting to Excel? They are not. As users that are going through and using our advanced reports feature, is that you're able to save those reports down by using this create report option down here at the bottom. And when you go into the create report option, is that it then asks you if you want to go ahead and publish this report out to other users. Right. If I go ahead and select different profiles, because there are other groups of users in our school that might want to go ahead and run this report. Otherwise, if I don't download it to Excel, but I do want to go ahead and print it off, I can always click on my print button down here at the bottom, which will print that report to a PDF. Can students enroll in the program desired using the online application? They can. It's a preference that I have not seen a school use yet, but it is an option to go ahead and turn on for a specific location. So you are, in K-12, you allow your students to go in and request their courses. In post-secondary, if you have some of the short courses, maybe motorcycle, safety that you're offering on a weekend, students enroll, fill out your online application, and then they also want to go ahead and say, I want to sign up for this motorcycle safety course taking place 2 weeks from right now, is that you could go ahead and turn that option on to allow the students to enroll themselves directly into a course. But again, I have not seen any of our districts use that option yet. Good question. Each district does go through and we build your registration form. Actually, what happens is that we will request your current registration form, and then we'll go through and build your online application. When we go through the process of building your online application, you are also trained on how you can edit and maintain your online application going forward. Within those online applications, you are able to go ahead and enter in, I can't think of the word. I'm sorry, it completely left me. But it's where you're able to say if the student selects this option, conditions, where if the student selects one option, that they automatically have to fill out another set of fields. So you can get as in-depth with your online application as you choose to. The next question in the demographic detail is the first date of enrollment specific to that school year or program, or will it go back to previous year enrollment? The demographic detail, if I open up Haley's record again, and the date of enrollment, might not have been on this tab here. The enrollment information for your students is all tracked under your enrollment option. It's going to keep track of all of the schools that your students have been enrolled in and each year. The students are year specific. Demographic data is not. However, your students do require an enrollment record for each school year. We know that in post-secondary, your year doesn't actually end. And so we've created the option in our rollover feature to roll over, and each district defines this as to whether you wanted to use this feature or not, but to roll over active student schedule records as of let's say, June 30th, which would also go ahead and bring over the section that the student is currently scheduled in. It would also bring over gradebook grades for those sections that have been built and assigned to your teachers. In other words, when you do that rollover on June 30th, teachers and students log in on July 1st, is that they will not actually see a difference. All of that information will carry directly from one year and straight into the next. The next question was, can a report be created on 9/1 with the data available, then be recalled? The demographic or any of the data that you're pulling into those reports will update as time goes on. So in the instance that you wanted to do that comparison of your August data to your September data, you would want to go ahead and export that to Excel, or otherwise go ahead and print out a PDF so that you're able to do that comparison. Because as you create and build those reports and you rerun them throughout the school year, the reports will continue to update with new students as they're meeting the specific criteria that you have requested in your report. The online application and for the registration fee, the ability to go ahead and accept credit cards, we are going to go ahead and go into, when we schedule our student, go over into the finance piece and show how you are able to go ahead and accept credit cards. Just as an FYI, Authorize.net is the only credit card company that we have an integration built with. That's the processing option that all of our districts use. The first date of attendance, all of that information that's on that demographic detail is just a demo site. It is simply the first day the student might have been enrolled on the first day of school. However, attendance was not actually entered in for the student until a set date. So all of this demographic data that we see here on this demo site is just examples of pieces that you are able to go ahead and build on your site. When we do your installation, is that we push out all of the state reporting fields along with a group of additional fields that have been popular from our other districts. Once we do that installation and push all those fields out to you, you're able to go through and define those district by district, again, based on the information that you want to go ahead and track. The application does have the option to go ahead and scan documents. So if you wanted to, we have a couple of districts that put the student handbook out there on their online application, along with a signature page, have the student sign the last page, and if the student has access to, they're able to go ahead and upload that signed document right back onto the online application. We are going to go ahead and move forward. We're getting a little bit behind schedule. Let's first go ahead and take a look at our test history. With test history, I am in Haley's student demographic record. Again, her name appears up here at the top right. When I selected test history from my gray menu, is that you can see that she currently has one score, one test administration out here for the TABE. We can see that the administration date, she tested on July 14th. And when we click on this gray arrow, then the file opens up and it shows us the scores and her grade equivalent for each part that she tested. A couple of our districts have requested and asked us about importing the TABE score. I will say that that's a piece that's going on right now with McGraw-Hill, because you do have to go ahead and download directly from McGraw-Hill. However, Focus has several import tools that allows the districts or schools to go ahead and import student demographic data, including test history, directly into students' records with a few different clicks, and it will go ahead and upload that information directly to your students, saving your test coordinators or registrars from having to manually enter in TABE scores all day. All right, the CASAS, entering that information in is exactly the same way. You simply go ahead and select the test from the drop-down, the administration, when the student actually tested this school year. These different additional pieces of information that you're assigning out here on the test record are pieces that you're able to go ahead then and search on. So when I went through and I defined that basic information for Haley, she tested on the 9th, she took the CASAS. When I select that drop down, is that now it's asking me to define the parts and the scores that she received on each one of those tests. So I go through, I hand enter this information and click save, and then I'm able to go ahead and search for the students based off of that information. As I go through and I'm selecting and entering in the different parts of these tests, is that you'll notice that, I'll just go ahead and put in a score on that one, that the list of parts here in my drop-down, they continue to be reduced by the ones that I've already set. So that helps to eliminate any error or entering in two score types for the same part within the same administration. The next piece, we are going to go ahead and jump right on into our scheduling. And before we do, we're going to first take a look at how you're able to set up your fees. So as we get ready to move over into our finance module, is that when we're going through and we're scheduling our students into these courses, we first have to define the fees that are going to be paid by the students as we're scheduling them in. So in the setup, everyone will go through and you have the option of setting up a different fee structure for each program that you offer. Some of our other districts simply create one fee group. It is used for tuition, and they assign a specific dollar amount for each program, regardless for the class fees or supply fees. And then on the individual course or program, that's where they'll get into the additional pieces of information. We can see here, I went ahead and I clicked on my building trades, and what it's showing me right now is that it's showing me the title that's going to feed through to our students portal. We'll also see it over in our finance piece, and it shows us the individual line items for each fee. You'll see that we're able to go ahead and select the fee type and then our fee amount. You'll notice that we have a checkbox here for resident fee or non-resident. When you are going through and you're scheduling and billing your students through the scheduling module, is that Focus looks at the student's resident status in the demographic record to see if they are a Florida resident or not. If the student is a Florida resident, the student will be assigned the $2.80 per hour versus if they are a non-resident, then they would be charged with $11.20. All right, once the districts have gone through and they've defined these fee groups, then it's going in and actually assigning them to your courses or programs. So I'm going to go into my scheduling module, and under my courses and fees, can everybody hear me? Can we do a quick sound check that everybody still hears me and sees my screen? I think our internet went down. Hello? Okay, good. People are raising their hands. Thank you very much. Okay, so out here in my scheduling module, I've selected my courses and sections area. This is where you're going through, you're adopting the individual courses within each program and building the individual sections where you're assigning your teacher, when the class actually meets, etc. So what we're going to do is here on our accounting operations program, when we selected our program, is that we've got a list of fields over here across the top. It's asking us what is the program code for the individual program, how many hours for this program. That information feeds into our grade screen as well as our staff report as the students are enrolled in these programs and progress through the program. Over here to the right, we have the option Manage Program Fees. If we click on that, our little pop-up comes up, and here's the drop-down of all of those groups of fees that were set up in our billing module. If we wanted to, we could go ahead and say, yep, we want to apply the accounting fees to the accounting program. We're going to bill our students based on a block of time versus on an individual course level. Each school is able to go through and define this on their own. When I clicked on the ad, you can see that it has brought in those fees that are assigned to that fee group. And down here at the bottom, if I have additional fees for this program, maybe this is a health program, and when the students go through a specific course within that program, they have to pay an additional $35 for an ID card. If that's the case, we're able to go ahead and tie that additional individual item to the course or the program outside of the group of fees, so that we're still collecting that information from our students. Right? If I wanted to remove this option, I am going to remove it because I actually have it set out at my course level. I simply click remove, and now my students, as they get enrolled, they're not going to be billed based off of the block of time, meaning a semester or a quarter. We're going to bill our students by the individual course. When I click on a course title, we have a new set of fields up here at the top. We're defining our course number. You can see that here on my demo site, the course title, it's grayed out, along with our WIS OCP hours over here to the right. What that means is that that information is filtering down off of my course catalog. So at the school level, I'm not able to go ahead and override what's been defined by our course catalog. The WIS OCP hours, this is a lot of our custom reports are looking at that field right there to compare your students as they're scheduled into the individual course to see how far they've progressed, and that portal alert that we had out there on our administrator's portal page where we had a set number of students that had exceeded 100% of course hours, is that query is looking at this field here. Our next field is the OCP and the course sequence. The OCP, you're able to go ahead and define the OCP that the student earns at the time that they complete the course. And then our course sequence field is an auto schedule feature that we've built into Focus. That when a student has completed a course and the teacher posts the final grade for that course, that Focus will automatically drop the student as of the day the grade was posted It will assign the post-secondary course status to the student's schedule record. It will award the OCP that's defined out here at the individual course, and it will schedule the student into the next course if there is an additional course. In this case, this is the last course in the program, but if we went into another one of these, here we go. We could say that the C is the third, and that way when the teacher went in and they posted the grade for the accounting associate, the student gets the OCPC assigned to their schedule record, and Focus automatically schedules the student into accounting assistant, which is the fourth and final course in this program. Right. Over to the right, a little bit further, you'll see the Manage Course piece again. This is where it's the same screen that we just looked at, but it's the area that allows you to define if you're going to bill your students based off of the individual course that they get scheduled in versus billing your students based on a block of time. It's the same functionality. When we click on our individual sections, is that this is where we're going in and we're defining the details of these courses, the periods that it's meeting in, who the teacher is. You'll notice that here on this demo site we have some basic periods. Most of our districts will go ahead and create maybe a period day or period night. Because you don't use periods necessarily in post-secondary the way that you do in K-12, and you don't send them in your state reporting, is that you don't necessarily have to have period 1, 2, 3, and 4. Focus does require a period, and the reason that some of our districts continue to go ahead and list them out as different options is so that you can run reports to say, show me all of my students that are currently enrolled in night courses or day courses. Right. Over here to the right, we have our meeting days. If a class does not meet Monday through Friday, is that you're able to go ahead and uncheck or check the days. If this class actually meets on Saturday as well, then I can check the days for Saturday or Sunday. For clinicals, you might be creating a separate section for clinicals because the number of hours that a clinical runs is usually longer than what the seat time is during the week. The next field, we have our marking periods. We're defining how long that these classes run. We're marking if the classes take attendance, if they're graded, and if they affect GPA. Because it falls into one of our programs, we do want those posted grades to be included in the student's GPA. As I click on my Florida tab, you'll see that I have a bunch of additional fields that are sent in my WITA state reporting. This is where we define our cost reporting code, our class hours. So the class, as we're building this section, that the majority of our students might be enrolled in it for 6 hours, but we do not have to go ahead and build a separate section for the student who might only be attending 4 or 5. We're able to override that on the individual student schedule. So as you go through and you define the different fields of information for the specific section, our couple other tabs out here, we have the option for co-teachers. This allows you to go ahead and select a specific teacher that might need to also have access to the gradebook and attendance. Maybe it's a nursing program and there are a couple of assistants in that course. But by setting them up as a co-teacher, it will go ahead and give them permission, either read only or the modify write. The next piece that we're going to look at is actually scheduling our student into a class. So I'm going to search for Haley again. And right now, I'm looking at an empty schedule. Down here at the bottom, I'm able to search for the class that I want to enroll her in. From my drop-down menu, if I go ahead and select my accounting operations and click search, is that it's listed out all of the classes that are set up in my accounting program. If I wanted to, if I know that Haley's going to be attending night classes, I could go ahead and search based off of the period and say only show me the twilight courses. And you can see that I went from 8 sections down to 4. By drilling in and defining that set information that you know that your students are going to be attending, you're able to go ahead and set that through your search criteria. To schedule the student directly into a class, we simply click on the title of the course, And you can see that Haley is now scheduled into this class. Earlier, I mentioned that if Haley was not going to be attending this class Monday through Friday or for the full number of hours that the course was set up for, I don't have to build a separate section just for this one student. I am able to go ahead and uncheck or check additional days for the students. So if this student was only able to attend class Monday through Thursday, she was not able to attend on Friday, I don't have to create a new section for that. Different pieces of information that we house on our schedule record as teachers start to enter attendance into the attendance module is that information will be populated here on our schedule screen. The hourly attendance is actually located in multiple areas of focus, not just through the attendance module. We are tracking the withdrawal code as your students are dropped out, whether they've dropped out or they've completed or they've progressed on to the next course in the program, is that you're able to go ahead and define the withdrawal code. That does not get sent in your WIT state reporting, but a lot of our districts we found do like to go ahead and track that information. Industry certifications, those are defined here on the schedule record. Your hours, again, we mentioned that if Haley was not able to attend this for the full 6 hours, we could go ahead and override that just for this one individual student. Additional fields that we have out here on the schedule, what we've done is we've broken it down. You define district by district what your reporting dates are, what your reporting timeframes are, and as your students are enrolled and attending classes through each one of these survey periods, is that Focus will show you the number of hours that you will actually be sending in your extract per student schedule record. Over here to the right, we have our completion points, so that as the students are completing these programs or courses and moving through the program, is that those are being awarded out here on the student schedule record. The basic skills is actually a piece that is calculated based off of the student's test history. There's a scheduled job that runs at night that based on the program that the student is enrolled in, the score that's required by DOE for the basic skills is that nightly job will go through and mark this as whether the student has met or has not met the requirement, or if the student is exempt. And if the student is exempt, it will assign the appropriate exemption. Right. As we scroll across, you can see that all of these fields of information, you should be used to seeing these fields. These are the fields that get sent in your WIT state reporting. All of this is set on the individual student schedule record as the students progress through these courses. Now that we've scheduled Haley into the individual class, is that up here at the top of the screen, we have the option to click Create Invoice. When I click this button, is that it goes through and oops, I made those schedule changes. Should not have made those schedule changes. Let me schedule her into a new class. As your students go through and are getting scheduled into these classes, is that we're able to go ahead and click on this Create Invoice, and it's taking those fees that we assign out there at the individual course level, and it is looking at the student's resident status to see how much that we should go ahead and charge the individual student. You can see right here that I've selected to bill by the individual section. In this drop-down, if you're a district that bills based off of a block of time and you bill students for the entire semester, you can select semester, quarter, or period if you do maybe a monthly billing for your students. The reason that I did that twice, you might be questioning why I scheduled her into a new class, was so that I could go ahead and show you this underlined link right up here to the top left. Is that as soon as I go through and I bill my student or select that Create Invoice option, is that again, I don't have to navigate to another area of focus to collect the student's money as they're standing there in front of me. I can simply click on the Go To Invoice, and it takes me over into my finance system, and it shows me here are the class fees because I billed her twice. For those two schedule records, I billed her for each schedule record, but it takes the number of hours and multiplies that by the dollar amount that's out there set up through your course fees area. When I selected that Go To Invoice, it's directly into my student screen, and it's listed all of this information out. With regard to the deferred payments, is that each district will be able to go through and define their own individual funding sources, and then as your students are enrolling and registering for their courses, you're able to mark which funding source and how much that each funding source will be defined by each line item. Down here at the bottom, for taking in our payment, you do have the different options. The question came up earlier about taking a credit card. The credit card, again, we are integrated with Authorize.net. When the student, when the registrar comes in and selects credit card, is that the screen comes up and asks for the credit card information. If you currently use a credit card swiper, we are integrated with those as well. And so when I get this screen, I could take the student's credit card, push it through, swipe the student's credit card, and it populates all of this information here. That credit card will then be processed that night. The check, again, if I selected that the student is handing over a check to pay for these fees, I could go ahead and put in the information regarding the check. Otherwise, I can go ahead and accept cash. To the right of that, I can type in if the student is making a partial payment for these outstanding fees, or I can click this button to the right and say the student is paying in full. When I've done that, is that it's pulled in and shows that the student is going to be paying the full $3,226. Over here to the right, it's automatically checked the box for each one of these invoices that I have selected up here. Right. I can go ahead and make that payment, and down here at the bottom right, I select Finalize. Ask me, are you sure you want to finalize? I am. And then it will go ahead and produce the receipt for the individual student. Shows how much that the student paid. If you elect to put a refund policy on there, and down here at the bottom, on this demo site, it prints out a copy of the student's schedule, showing the times that the student is actually going to be enrolled in each one of those classes. All right, when I switched over to my finance piece, is that you, I'm sure, noticed that a bunch of my screens changed a little bit. We processed that payment for Haley. If we ever wanted to look up that individual transaction, we're able to put in the student's name and go ahead and reprint the receipt. When we reprint the receipt, it shows up as our PDF, and again, we're able to go ahead and print that out, send it to our actual printer if we needed the hard copy for our students. All right, we are going to pause for a second, and we will take some questions. The first question that I see is, can fund account strips be added to the tuition and fees field? Over here in our SIS side, as you are going through and defining each one of your groups, you are setting up, let me shrink this down, your fund, facility, and projects. And over on your finance side, if I go into my internal accounts and go to my settings down here at the bottom, this is where you're going through and you are defining your projects, you're defining your accounting strips, and then, of course, setting the permissions for each one of those accounting strips. The piece that we talked about with regard to the auto schedule and focus scheduling the student into the next course in the program, if I go back out here under my scheduling menu and my courses and sections, is that within each program, I can define the sequence that the students are going to progress through these programs. So most post-secondary schools, some programs students complete at their own pace, and with that is that we're able to go ahead and set focus up to manually move those or automatically move those students through each course if they go in order as your teachers post final grades. So as a teacher, I go in, I say that Susie has completed this course, I post the final grade. When I post that grade is that Focus will automatically drop the student from that course, schedule them into the next course within the program, defined by this sequence field right here. It will award the OCP to the student, as well as setting the student's post-secondary course status to satisfactory. So while we know that not all programs that students follow a sequence together, is that you're able to, for hopefully some of your programs, set up that auto schedule feature and not have to schedule every individual student into the different courses as they progress. Can the OCP be entered without recording the grades? They sure can. Your teachers do not need to go ahead and post a grade. However, the auto schedule feature is driven off of the posting of the grades. In Focus, teachers do not have access to withdrawal students. Withdrawing and editing student demographic data is handled by an administrator. It's up to each district to go ahead and define if they have teachers that want to have access to withdrawing students is setting up a separate profile. Can a student be scheduled for the entire year in a program? Sequence with appropriate fees charged for each. You are able to go ahead and schedule the student for the entire year. I haven't come across a district yet that does that, where they're charging for the entire year, but you are able to go ahead and do that. The enrolling the students, again, if you use the auto schedule feature, Focus will do it for you. Otherwise, someone is scheduling the student into each course as they progress through the program. Can students access their invoices? Students are able to go ahead and log into the student portal and make payments online if you have set that option up. The next question is, are fee transactions automatically transferred into finance journals? They are. Again, all of that is set up as you're going through and you're defining the billing information over here on the SIS side, as well as over on the finance side, creating those accounts and projects and building out your product list. So we understand that not all of the fees that you assign to your students can be driven based off of schedule records. You do have, maybe you charge for a parking pass, et cetera. You are able to go ahead and through the finance system assign individual fees directly through the point of sale and Focus. Third-party vouchers, you have outside individual users who are funding sources, paying for your students. I'm guessing that that's what you're asking. If that is the case, then during the setup process is that along with setting up all of those projects and products, is that you're also defining the different funding sources that you use. And within each one of those funding sources, as your students are enrolled and they are deferring payment because it's being covered by an outside party, is that you're indicating that on the individual line items for your students so that then you are able to invoice that third party. The financial aid, we're actually getting ready to go into here in just a few minutes. Again, the Pell would be set up as a one of your funding sources, and you would be able to go ahead and defer your students' payments, and then which would then feed through to your invoice for those individual fees for your students. The withdrawal, the next question, I apologize, I'm reading these questions and I just realized I'm not actually reading them out loud. What withdrawal code is entered when the teacher records the final grade. That's defined by the individual districts. Here in my scheduling menu, because again, I mentioned that the withdrawal code on the schedule record is not sent in WIDA state reporting, is that each district is able to go in and define their own withdrawal codes, even though this the menu item says schedule enrollment codes. It holds actually the withdrawal codes as well. So each district is able to go in there and define that. Is the entire finance piece included in this post-secondary software? It is. I'm going to forward that question to Chris Bowers to answer later on. Ursula, we're getting ready to take a look at the FAFSA piece. Can we determine the amount when a student drops early? Great question. You are able to go ahead and do a refund on your students. Focus does not go in and auto-calculate the percentage if you are going to refund students. A lot of our districts actually have a no refund policy. However, when you go into the individual student through the POS and look up that transaction that where the student paid those fees, you're able to go ahead and process a refund, which would then get sent through our process flow on the finance side, and then goes ahead and feeds into, once it's been approved, to be printed out as a check to be made payable to your students. But Focus does not determine the amount of the refund. Can you track clock hours? If so, how? So that's our last question for right now. What I'm going to do is to go ahead and go back into our student schedule, because this is where all of the clock hours are pulled from. When we scheduled our student into the individual classes, is that over here to the right, it pulled in the number of hours that the student was scheduled into the class. And as the time progresses and the student is enrolled in this class, when the teachers go into their take attendance screen, which is here in just a couple of steps, we're going to take a look at attendance and grade book. But the student's hourly attendance automatically defaults to the number of hours that they are enrolled here on their schedule record. As the students complete the courses, or as they progress through them, your total hours here to the right will accumulate based off of the meeting days, which days the student is in each class during the week, along with the student's enrolled date into each course, and display that the total running hours here on the schedule record. Earlier I mentioned that it will break it down for each one of your surveys if you go in and define the survey date. The total clock hours earned toward award does not get populated on the student's schedule record until the student schedule record has been marked with a post-secondary course status of satisfactory. Once the post-secondary course status has been set, then we would see the number of hours from the course setup populate here in our total clock hours, and that would also be sent in our WIDA state reporting. All right, so the next piece that we're going to take a look at is our FAFSA integration, and then we'll take a couple of questions after that. The FAFSA integration, if I go into, we only have a few different options in this menu. When I click on the drop down, my first option is process incoming ISERs. So with the setup of each district is that we go through and we set up your mailbox directly with FSA. We do not go through ED Express. So there is not the little key fob password change. What it does is that each day the financial aid specialist is able to come into this screen, click the import ISERs for the day or that past weekend, and it will go ahead and display all of the students with the new ISER report that came in again over the weekend or since the last time that you downloaded. In this screen here, we have a column for approve and we have a column for deny. We know that you would never deny an ISER report for a student. However, this screen currently generates and places students on our staff report if they've been marked with the approve radio button. So if we want to go ahead and approve this student, once we click process the ICERs, is that student would then go ahead and appear on our staff report that we're going to take a look at here in a few minutes. The additional information that we're looking at here on this screen, we are showing the student's ID number, the student's name, first and last name, and then it shows you the school name if the student is currently enrolled in taking classes at one of your existing schools. If the student is not currently enrolled, does not exist in your database, the school name will be titled the applicant school. So we don't want to go ahead and reject any ICERs for students that don't already exist in your system. We still want to pull them down. However, until they actually walk through your door and enroll in a class, is that the student will continue to sit over in the applicant school until they've been actively enrolled. This just simply allows you to continue to view and receive that information for your students. Over here, as we work our way across the screen, it shows you the school year, the EFC number that's on the individual ICER report. It also shows you the ICER number so that if your students have submitted ICERs multiple times and they had corrections that they had to have processed, is that it will go ahead and show you which number that it is. And right here to the right, we can click on View the ICER, and your ICER report will pop up in a separate page and show you in the original format the information that is housed on the individual ICERs. So your schools are still able to go ahead and scroll through the ICER reports for each of your students, and again, it is the original ICER layout. After going into the process incoming ICER screen, the next screen that we're going to look at is our View ICERs. Here in our ICER number column, I mentioned that your students could have multiple ICERs that they've submitted or corrections, and then new ICERs are processed. Is that as each one of those come down, we are pulling it into focus and we're holding on to them. So we're not going through and deleting any of the ICERs that have come down for students if a new one is received. You're always able to go back and look at a prior ICER if you need to. Here, when I went ahead and I just simply clicked on search, actually I'm going to step back one screen. When I come in from my FAFSA menu and select View ICERs, is that it brings me to a search screen. Over to the left, I could go ahead and put in the student's name that I'm searching for, or I could search on all of my denied, processed, or unapproved or unprocessed ICER reports. Otherwise, because I don't have very many students here at my school, I'm simply going to click on search. And again, it brings in that same information that we just saw on our processing screen, where it's showing us our student's name, the student ID, the EFC number, as well as the ICER number. Over here, when we click on that ICER link, again, it opens it up in a separate window. We're able to go ahead, if we need to print off a hard copy of this from our browser, we would simply go ahead and go to File and then Print, and it would print the 6 pages in the original format. While all of this here on the screen might look like it runs together, the page breaks are built in there based off of, again, the original layout. Moving on, the next piece in our FAFSA menu is our FA worksheet. So again, we've gone around to several of our schools and asked, once you've received the ICER report and your student is ready to go ahead and get enrolled or go ahead and enroll in one of your programs, is that what do you do to actually go ahead and show the calculation for how much of the student is going to be awarded? A lot of them don't track as much information. Most of it is done out of an Excel spreadsheet. The sheet that we see here has a lot of information on it. At the top, it's showing the basic student information, the student's social security number, the student's address, their name, their FSNI, and then we're getting into the program that the student is actually interested in. This program dropdown is driven based off of our modified programs field and our scheduling menu. What we've done is we've imported all of the programs offered through DOE, and then we run a query to see which programs that you actually have set up at your school. And based on the programs that you have set up at your school, that drives this drop down right here, so that your financial aid won't be signing up a student for a program that you just don't offer. As I click on the individual programs here from my drop down, is that you can see that my program length, right here around the middle of my screen, is going to fluctuate based on the number of hours for the individual program. So right now I'm looking at bakery and pastry arts, which the program length is 600 hours. If I switch over to my auto collision, it recalculates and it shows me that that program is actually 1,400 hours. Above that is that we have our academic hours, year hours, and our academic year weeks. These two fields are preferences that are defined district by district. However, we know that with Pell, you're not able to go over your 900 academic hours. So what Focus is doing is that it's taking the 1,400 hours and pulling the 900 out of it to go ahead and do our calculation for the 2013 school year. The additional 500 hours will then move over to our next school year, assuming that the student still qualifies and comes back to finish out that program. The transfer hours listed right here is that if the student did transfer from a separate district and with additional hours, we would be able to go ahead and enter in that information there. So if I say that Haley transferred in with 200 hours, is that this screen is doing the calculation for me. We can see that it's taken my 1,400 minus my 200 hours. It shows that she still has 1,200 hours remaining. Our previous paid carryover hours, if this was the second year of the program and the student had already completed the 900 hours in the first year, and we're now looking for the calculation for the second year for her to finish out this program, is that I can go ahead and put in the 900 hours here, and again it goes through and it shows that now she only has 300 hours remaining. As we go ahead and scroll down our page, I'm going to take that 900 back out of there so that I can show you that it does go ahead and break it down. Your pay period hours, it will only go ahead and request the 450 for each pay period. And as we work our way down to the bottom of our screen, you can see the total hours, 900 hours, her EFT for the approved ICER report that we have in the software, and then it shows you her calculated cost of attendance, and then her breakdown for those payments across the 2 years. So we would be requesting 450, 450 this year, and then 250, 250 next year. All right. With those financial aid worksheets, you are able to go ahead and build as many as you'd like with your individual students. As you go through and you build that financial aid worksheet, is that when you sign off on that worksheet, that's what triggers your file to be sent to COD to claim your student, and it also kicks the information over into our POS system to show that when the student comes in and they're registering for those classes, and the registrar is sitting down, scheduling the student and collecting any kind of additional fees that they might have to pay outside of the financial assistance, is that when the registrar goes into the screen, they would see that dollar amount of the funding that the student is going to be receiving, so they can go ahead and defer that tuition, and again, collect any additional outside fees that the student might need to go ahead and pay. The next piece that we're looking at here is our staff report from our FAFSA menu. Over to the left is that it's showing us our individual student name, right? And with Haley here, it's pulling her student ID, it's showing her social security number, as well as her GPA. So again, we want to make sure that our students are making the adequate progress as they move throughout these programs. Only if your teachers are going in and posting a final grade at the end of the course are we able to calculate a GPA. That GPA feeds through to your staff report. It lets you know the program that the student is currently enrolled in and the maximum time frame based on the number of hours for this individual program. As we scroll across, is that you'll see it's showing the program hours attended. So Haley has attended 481 hours so far for this program as a whole. It then breaks it down and shows you the number of hours attended per course. So again, it's a demo site, so you can ignore my bad data. You can see that when she was in OCPA, we didn't enter in any attendance. But for OCPB and OCPC, you're able to see that she was attended 220.5 hours, as well as 261.03 hours for those different courses. The program hours percentage that she's completed so far, 73%. Over here, it's letting us know the individual course that she's actually completed so far. And if we scroll a little bit further, is that it's showing us the teacher for each one of those sections that she's been enrolled in. And then it's showing us either the posted grade or the current gradebook grade that the teacher has currently in their gradebook if the student has not completed the course yet. Right, so through this one report, we're able to come in here as we're receiving different portal alerts that an individual student is coming due, and we need to do our next round of billing for financial aid for our students, is that we're able to run this report to see if the students are adequately moving through their program, and follow up with the student if they are not. Whether they don't have the GPA that they need or the attended hours, etc. All right, we'll take a few questions here. And our next module is the attendance and gradebook, and then we are going to look at our WIDA state reporting. The next question is, does Focus Supply annual COE report and 3 times a year the IPEDS report? Great question. The COE report is a report that we are in the process of researching to eventually produce those reports. IPEDS is currently on hold. However, when we know the information that IPEDS is going to be requesting, it's just a matter of going in and running the report to pull the numbers for the different districts to go ahead and plug in for your IPEDS report. The COE report reporting we are looking into. Is vocational secondary survey reporting available? It is, however, this is just the post-secondary system. With the understanding that you are going to have your K-12 co-enrolled students in here. However, the K-12 reporting should be done out of the district's K-12 system, not necessarily our post-secondary system. But the reporting is built in to this into this version. The next question. Is the vocational application available for conversion testing training, assuming contracts are finalized and signed? Again, that's the one I'm going to defer to Chris Bowers down there in Broward. The next question, can forms and database tables be created for local special processes, and can these forms be integrated into the Focus environment? Different forms will be built for each district. Focus has a mail merge feature built directly into it. When we get into our grades area, we'll take a look at some of those. The access to the tables within the database, everybody will be going through a certification training that you will be required to complete and successfully pass the test before you're given access to the database. Is there a way to record or reflect other methods of financial aid, like state or private? Yes. That is actually would be one of your funding sources that you would define over on the finance side. If you have any outside vendors, your VA, if you have students that are receiving VA, when you go in and you create those funding sources and you're in the individual student's POS system and billing your students for these fees, you're able to go ahead and indicate which funding source that the student is deferring payment for, which then produces your invoices for each one of those funding sources. All right, we are going to go ahead and move on to our attendance module and the gradebook. So let me log in here really quick. Early on in the demo, as we worked our way across the screen, is that I mentioned this drop down up here to the top right. Here on our demo site, we have the system administrator linked to multiple roles here on our demo site. And so right now, I'm going to select the role of Judy Hutchinson, and I'm logged in now as a teacher. And over here to the top right is that it's listing out the different courses that I am set up to teach. Right? And within each one of our courses is that our attendance, when the teachers log in to go ahead and enter in attendance for each class, is that it defaults to showing the students the number of hours that they're currently scheduled into the individual classes. My internet is slowing down. All right, our students are listed in the center, and over to the left, it's showing us all of our prior days attendance. Right, in the center are student names. There are those little icons that appear on the teachers take attendance. So again, if students have outstanding fees, everyone is being notified if you do use an icon similar to that. It's showing us here on our take attendance screen the total days absent so far for our students. In the take attendance screen, it's also showing us the total hours attended as well as the students' scheduled hours. Right, so we're able to quickly see that our Haley here, she's actually attended 130 hours of this OCPB accounting clerk course. And over here to the right, where it's our column for present, is that you'll see all of the number of hours that the students are currently enrolled in the individual course. If the student is absent, we simply click on the radio button and Focus will wipe out the number of hours for you. If the individual student is not attending the full scheduled hours, so Haley is scheduled in this class for 5 hours. If she's actually only there for 3 hours, I can override that. And when I've gone through and marked for the students that are absent and the students that weren't there for the entire day, I simply click on Save. Oh, and on my demo site, if it was set up, I would be able to save that. If I was in a marking period, this is what happens when you don't check everything out on your demo site. I apologize for that. Let me log back out of that one. Log into this one, and we'll see if I'm able to take attendance over here. So I'm logged in as Judy. I go into my take attendance screen. I see my prior day's attendance over here to the left. I mark my students absent for those students that are not going to be completing the full amount of time. I click on my Save button, and I have entered in my attendance for the day. Oh, yay, success. So as a teacher, the students automatically default for these students that you'll see I don't have the option for, simply because while this class meets today, the student is not scheduled into my class for today. Over here to the left, that you see these little blanks on prior days attendance, and you can see how long it's been since my calendar has been set up, but is that those blanks, again, indicate that the student was not enrolled in the class on that specific day. If I needed to go ahead and edit the prior day's attendance, I can simply click on these fields, open it up, and enter in the information. So if I did not enter in yesterday's attendance, I could go ahead and click on that and enter the information in. The hourly attendance, as we saw earlier, appears on the student's schedule screen. And we're able to go ahead and also view it on our student's grade screen that we're going to take a look at here in just a few minutes. All right, we have several different attendance reports. Our attendance chart allows our teachers to go ahead and view attendance regardless of whether they're teaching them all day or if there's a different teacher who's stepping in and maybe teaching in the afternoon. The teachers are able to run our attendance chart and look at the total attended hours by the individual courses. Our absent summary goes through and shows all of the days that our individual students have been marked as absent and indicates the, or if they were marked as tardy, the total number of hours that the student's been marked with those different attendance codes, anytime that it's anything other than a present attendance code. Right. All of our attendance feeds through to our attendance module as an administrator. The administrators have multiple reports as well, as I go back over as my system administrator, is that as your teachers go through and they enter their attendance, we mentioned this portal alert out here on the portal page for administrators. They're able to see which teachers have not taken attendance today. And when we click on that link, it takes us in and it shows us the individual period that the teacher still has to go ahead and enter the attendance for. Right. Other than that is that most of our schools are going into our attendance administration report. And if I backdate this to, let's try for yesterday, is that it goes through and it lets me know that this student was marked absent in 3 different sections. She missed all 3 sections yesterday. This is a live report that as teachers are going in and they are updating the attendance for the individual students, it feeds through to this screen here. So that at any time an administrator is able to come in to see who has been marked absent. All right, the next piece that we're going to take a look at is the gradebook. Different districts handle the gradebook for their post-secondary, different district by district. Some of the features that we've built for our post-secondary schools is that in the gradebook configuration, we've created the option to use a full year gradebook. Again, knowing that students don't necessarily complete an individual course and transfer from one to the next or close out a quarter the way that K-12 does. By turning this option on is that the gradebook will run for the entire year and the students are able to complete on their own pace. Right. When I go back into my gradebook, is that it's a typical gradebook. Up at the top, I'm able to go ahead and click on Add an Assignment. And when I click on the Add an Assignment option, I'm defining the title, the number of points that the assignment is worth. Over here to the right is that we have imported the curriculum frameworks for all of the different programs offered by DOE. And teachers, if they choose to, can go ahead and tie individual frameworks to the assignments in their gradebook. To go ahead and post those for a more detailed transcript when printing one out for an individual student. Right? As I'm setting up those different assignments, if I do teach the same course in multiple periods, or maybe I teach this course during the day and I also teach it at night, I can copy these assignments to those other classes so that I don't have to set it up every time. The assignment titles are listed out here across the top of our screen, the number of points. Through our gradebook, again, we're able to go through using arrow keys or tab keys to quickly monitor or move throughout the gradebook. Again, if your district does use the gradebook. The posting of the final grades, when I go to my grades menu and select post final grades, is that again, if your student the individual course students complete at their own pace, is that separate from our K-12 system where a teacher at the end of a quarter would come up here and click use gradebook grades and it would populate the list of grades for all of the students in our class, is we've created the option for your teachers to go in and post the grade for the individual student. Because as Johnny completes, Susie was only halfway through the individual course. When the teachers come in and post this final grade, is that this is what triggers the auto schedule feature that I mentioned a little bit earlier, that drops the student from one class and automatically schedules them into the next. Right. The second piece of our posting screen is that if your teachers or your schools do go ahead and use the curriculum framework, again, they're posted, they're imported in, they're tied to all of the different courses within the program. When your teachers come in and they're posting these grades, is that this posting screen looks similar to an actual grade book. Up here at the top, it's showing you the different standard titles, and your teachers are able to go in and mark the grade that the student received at the time that they completed the benchmark. They do not have to be in order. You can see that this one here we skipped over. Maybe the student failed that one. We're going to come back at a later time and reteach it with that student. The auto drop and auto schedule feature is also tied to using the the curriculum frameworks as well. So you're able to go ahead and use that auto schedule feature in either way. All right, I am going to skip questions for right now simply because we're down to 14 minutes, and I still have to show you the grade screen for our individual students as well as our WIT estate reporting. So I'm going to try to speed it up a little bit. Sorry to run so long. The first piece I'm going to do is to go ahead and go into my individual student, go into their grade screen. Because we are trying to go ahead and provide you with as much information for the individual screens as possible without having to navigate throughout the system, is that we've adjusted our, seems to be running a little bit slower, our final grade screen. To display a summary at the top of the screen. So over here to the left, it's quickly showing us the student's GPA. It's showing me any industry certifications that the student has earned. Over to the right, it lets me know the program that the student is currently enrolled in. It gives me the program code as well as the OCPs the student has earned. It's showing me the attended hours versus the program hours and how much that she's actually completed. Down here are the individual grade records for the courses that she's completed. If I wanted to, I could go ahead, click on my demographic tab. This is just, again, separate demo site, letting you know that she's currently enrolled in our accounting program. Up here to the top right, when I am in her demographic area, someone asked a question earlier about setting up forms. Focus has a full mail merge feature built into it. We do go ahead and collect your forms, set them up in the system, and we're able to go ahead and tie those directly to student demographic areas. From the general tab on my demo screen here is that from this drop down, I can go ahead and select certificate. This is just a generic certificate, but it does give you the idea that you're able to go ahead and merge and produce a certificate of completion immediately for your students, or just different types of forms that you want to tie to these individual tabs in the demographic area. For the transcripts, when we go into the transcripts and we go through the training at each individual district, is that the screen here includes a lot of information that you're able to go ahead and produce on the transcripts. When the schools and your end users actually log in and try to run a transcript, is that they don't see all of these check boxes. This is a lot. With the individual administration, we sit down and we set up the check boxes that will define the information that's going to be seen on the grade records, and that way it's a lot easier for your end users. So we're going to go ahead and just run a basic transcript here for Haley. Right, and on it we're saying that we want to see the letter grade as well as the OCPs that she's earned. And once we go ahead and check the box for Haley, we click on Generate the Transcript, and it produces our PDF. This information up here at the top, just basic information that we're housing somewhere within Focus. And we said we wanted to go ahead and merge it into our letterhead template. Then going through and letting us know the individual courses, the OCPs, the clock hours that she's earned. If you wanted to, you would be able to go ahead, maybe this is a nursing program and we house the immunizations for our students. You could also go ahead and display that information on the individual transcript for your students as well. All of it is district by district and customized during the implementation process. One more piece before we go into our WIT estate reporting is that when I am in the student's record, and again over here on her grade screen, if I go over and we are using the curriculum frameworks and our teachers are posting those for all of our students, is that when we open up our student's demographic record and we use our grade submenu, the summary that appears at the top of this is also showing us all of the information we just saw on our grade screen. The GPA, it's showing us the industry search the student has received. It's showing us the program and the OCPs. And down here, it's actually showing the grade that the student received on each individual framework as the teachers have gone through and posted them. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this student, and in our Florida reports menu, the first piece we're going to look at is our WITIS data verification reports. We have gone through and we've taken all of DOE's data edits and built them here into the interface. When you load this screen here is that it breaks it down by the individual extracts that you are sending in your WITIS data reporting in each survey. Right, and from this drop-down, you select which survey that you're submitting for. It's going to go ahead and populate your window time frame over here to the right. The little dial here lets me know how clean my data actually is. The edits are listed out over here to the left. We've placed the number next to the individual edit so that if you're ever questioning and want to go out and look at DOE. Along with that is that here we can see that I have 16 errors on this cost reporting code. It's an invalid cost reporting code. I'm able to click directly onto the 16, and it takes me in and it shows me the 16 records that are going to get rejected when I send my state reporting. It's giving me the information and that's causing this error, and I'm able to go in and clean up this information by simply clicking on the student's name. It takes me in. I'm able to go over to their schedule record and fix that cost reporting code to be a valid cost reporting code. So all of our data verification reports are set up and available to all of our districts, and as you go through, the schools are able to clean up their data throughout the school year. We're no longer waiting until it is survey time, and then we're asking the schools to, here are all of the edit errors that we received, go in, clean all of this up. We're able to go ahead and make this available to our schools throughout the school year, have them consistently cleaning up their data as the school year goes on so that we don't have that rush. The next piece that we're going to look at here in our Florida reports menu is the actual extract of our WITIS state reporting. Up here at the top, this is a very simple screen. We go through, we define our survey. When you are ready to submit survey, you contact our support desk, and we make a full duplicate of your focus system. So it includes all of the code and the database and place it out on the server, and it will, instead of it being your district.focusschools.software.com/focus, it would be /surveyW_14. So that at any time you could always go back into that survey site, and that is actually the site that you submit your extract from. So we first go ahead and select which survey that we're sending. Then we'll go through and define the individual extracts. If you want to look at the file in the format that it's going to be sent to DOE in, you can go ahead and download this text file. It downloads directly onto your desktop. You're able to download it to Excel so that it places it in the columns of information so that you're able to easily read the information. Or you can select HTML Preview. HTML Preview will go ahead and pull that entire extract, place it right here in the interface of Focus so that, again, you can easily go ahead and see that information. Otherwise, if you're ready to FTP directly to the state, select DOE FTP. When we're sending our initial, we select the radio button for the initial, define our effective date, today's date, our survey window, and click on Generate Extract. When we click that, is that Focus goes through and sends that file to DOE. We go through and we select that for each one of our extracts. Once we have sent our initial and we have pulled back our error reports, also available through our Florida reports menu, you are able to go into Download DOE and Error Reports. You select your survey and it pulls the edit and error reports directly into Focus, and you can download those. When you're ready to go ahead and process your first batch, is that Focus automatically recognizes key fields and will mark each record as an add, change, or delete. And when you're ready to go ahead and submit your batch file, you select what's called Magic Batch. What Magic Batch does is it goes through, it pulls down your O file. It does a comparison of your initial and the records that are in Focus to that O file to go ahead and pull out those individual records that need to be sent in this batch. And it will go ahead and send up for that night. You don't have to go through and identify those yourself, simply by going in, cleaning up any changes or modifications that you need to do based off of your error report. Focus automatically recognizes those records that need to be sent back in the individual batch. All right. So that is state reporting in a nutshell. I know that that one was really quick. I will go ahead and take a look at some of our questions down here and see if we can get a couple of them answered before our 3 o'clock. Can a specific date range be run to get a grade at a specific point in time, a cumulative grade? Yes, your teachers in their grade books is that your teachers automatically show the running grade for the individual students at any time that you are navigating through Focus. As an administrator, you're able to, oops, let me close out of my student here. From your search screen, go ahead and click on More Search Options and go into grades. And when you're doing your search, you're able to go ahead and search based off of gradebook grades. So you can at any time see teachers or students that might not be doing so hot with their in their gradebooks. The next question. I won't read that one. Yay, Carol. Does Focus have the DOE monthly attendance verification reports? It sure does. Teachers are able to go ahead and print those out, or administrators. And as a teacher, it's going to go ahead and print for just my classes. If I want to go ahead and run for all of my teachers, I can go in here, select the individual teacher, or run it for all, and it will, you define your 20-day window right here, and go ahead and download it. Can all WITA survey files be created at once, or are they executed separately? They are executed separately. Is there a learning management component? There is. Okay, let me log out of this really quick. I apologize. I mentioned that at the beginning. Let me log out. Let me go over as my teacher. On this demo site here, I am going to go in as my high school teacher just simply because that's where I have the data. Right, when I'm logged in as a teacher, I have an additional menu option when you are using the LMS. We have our lesson planning. The lesson planner is where the teachers are going in and you're able to adopt the individual lesson plan and course components that have been built by the district and pushed out, or go ahead and adopt pieces and parts. So here I'm in my English 1 class. It's selected up here at the top right. I've gone into, again, lesson planning, and I selected my lesson planner. I want to build and create a new course. That has brought up my pop-up here. This is listing out all of the courses that we've built curriculum for. Down here at the bottom, I can go ahead and say, look through all of the information out there and let me know if we have anything that's built for English 1, English Skills 1. This is one that, again, I know I have data for. When I selected this from the drop-down, it is populated and showing me the information that's already been built out there. I'm able to go ahead and adopt the entire course plan, or I can go ahead and select an individual unit. I'm going to go ahead and select the entire plan. That information is picked over here, and as I work down, if the district pushes out additional pieces for the individual components that they want to make sure that any time that this course number is taught in our schools, they want to make sure that these different components are also tied to it. As the teachers are adopting it, they can add or remove some of those different areas. Down at the bottom is that they have the option to go ahead and set it up for multiple courses. So when I adopt this and I'm teaching English Skills 1 multiple times throughout the day, I am going to go ahead and create this course plan for both of those sections. Down at the very bottom of it is that it's showing me the units for this plan. I want to go ahead and I want to accept the entire piece is being pushed out by the district. I click on Create Course Plan. It goes out and it pulls in all of the information, again, that has been pushed out by the district, right? And within my individual unit, which is selected and highlighted over here to the left, is that it's showing me what I've pulled down. I've pulled down a YouTube address, I've pulled down a picture, I've pulled down a couple of labels, I've pulled down a forum that I can go ahead and open up to to my students for a specific time frame, and still require each teacher to go ahead and sign off on all of those discussions as the students are submitting them. Within the individual lesson, I've pulled down an individual label that shows you how you're able to include all of the different types of information in this lesson plan. Right? Our options over here, if I wanted to add a new file that I want my students to go out and download, I can do so by dragging and dropping that into my lesson plan. Is that when my students log in, they will go into the individual plan and be able to download this file. I'm able to upload any type of file. If it is a PDF or a picture, is that I'm able to embed it directly into my lesson plan. The links and labels, if I want to put links to YouTube videos or other areas that I want my students to go out to, I can go ahead and, again, just drag and drop that information here. The labels, this is just an example of one of the labels right here. The discussion forums, I mentioned early on, the discussion forums, those are, teachers are able to build those, and they automatically default to being required that the teacher approve the discussions submitted by the students before they are actually published out here. Assignments, if I create a new assignment, that assignment will automatically be set up in my gradebook. Tests, if I want to create tests, the first step of creating a test is to go out and create my questions. Again, questions can be added at the district level and pushed down to the different courses, so that as the teachers are going in, they'll see the list of suggested questions that teachers can tie to their test. When creating a new question, you do have the different options here in the drop-down. The multiple choice, the select multiple with the true false, is that those you're also able to set up as auto grade for your students. When we go ahead and select the multiple choice, for example, it is going through and it's asking us to enter in the answer, and for our A through B, let's say, you can define how many options that the students are going to be able to select from. Up here, we're putting in our test question, and then we indicate which one is the correct answer, which the others are incorrect. Right, when we are ready to add that test, we filled out all of our questions, we're ready to add it to our gradebook, is that from our gradebook, up here at the top, right next to our add an assignment, we have an option to add a test. When we go into the add a test over here to the left, these are your categories of where your questions will be built. You go through and check the box for the individual questions and click the button to add them to the test. You'll see that that was now kicked over here to the middle of my screen, and I'm able to place page breaks. If I want to place 2 questions per page for these students, I define the number of questions as well as any other page breaks. If I want to view this prior to publishing it out to my students, I can view it in HTML or PDF. By simply clicking on this, it goes in and it shows me exactly what the students are going to see. On the Options tab, this is where I'm going in and placing the title of what this test is called. When students are going to be able to go ahead and take this test, of the date as well as the time of day. If I wanted to place a login pin, I can go ahead and enter that information and the number of points that this test is worth, the category, if I've categorized my gradebook, if I wanted to go ahead and copy it over to multiple sections. Down here at the bottom, if I wanted to allow the students to use the calculator or Scratchpad to figure out the different questions that I put on here, I can simply check those boxes. The other option for creating a test is through the answer key only test. When I click on that option, simpler screen. Over here to the left, it's asking me how many questions are going to be on this. If I say 2 questions, I say that there are only going to be 4 options. Students can select A, B, C, or D. Up here in my files box, I'm able to go ahead and select a file from my desktop, and I'm just going to move some of my windows around here so that I can click and drag and drop this directly into the test, so that way when students log in from home, they're able to download this PDF, which has the questions that I'm asking them to go ahead and complete in the LMS. Here are my 2 questions. So the students will go in, they'll download that PDF, and then I go through and indicate what is the correct answer. I again define the parameters of that test, and when our students log in, I'm going to go ahead and log out as an administrator. I saved this test down a little bit earlier. Oops. I logged in as our student. Is that the students are going to receive a portal alert that lets them know that you have 1 new test. Any tests or assignments will show as portal alerts here on our student portal page. The students are able to go ahead and click on it directly from here. And when I'm ready to go ahead and begin, I click to go ahead and start it. That way, if it is a timed test, the students are indicating when they're ready. And then I go through and select my radio buttons of what my, I don't know what I selected over there, but when I go ahead and define my, the options that I want to go ahead and submit for my test. Right, that information, it was automatically scored, and so the this student, Jen, that grade is immediately fed into my teacher grade book. So again, I know that was really quick. That is the LMS in a nutshell. We are past our 3 o'clock time frame. Hopefully everyone can still hear me. Another quick question that's listed out here, can the attendance be integrated with the time clock system? Actually, we do have a time clock system where students are able to go ahead and scan in with their student ID badge. The time clock simply sits on the teacher's desk, or we bolt it to the wall. Students, as they check in for the day, they scan their ID badge. If the students did not scan in for the day, they are simply marked as absent for that day. There's a nightly job that runs and calculates the number of hours and minutes for the students based on that clock in. Is there a user manual? Yes, there is a user manual. As we go through all of our training documentation will be given out to each individual user along with activities as we go through the training. The Focus University, when I'm logged in as an administrator, you'll notice that from my portal page is that we have an area called Focus University Courses. At any time that you have questions on how a specific area of focus functions, you're able to go ahead and click on this. It takes you out to Focus University. They're 3 to 5 minute long videos. They're short videos, and they're clearly defined as the content that's within each one of those videos. So you don't have to sit through a 30-minute video to figure out how you enroll a new student. We also have our help button located down here at the bottom right of everyone's screen. At any time, you can click on that, and it will pull the content that we have written for our individual manuals. And you're also able to go out to our Focus University area, which houses the entire manual. All right, everyone, I apologize that it has run over. We're 10 minutes over our 2 hours. If you have any additional questions, please go ahead and email those into Chris Bowers. And I look forward to seeing a lot of you, hopefully, at the WEDAC conference next month. I will talk with you soon. Thank you.